All right, guys. Today we're gonna be reacting to Trump falsehood about Aurora, Colorado, and other stuff. JD Vance. Let's jump in.
Vice presidential nominee, Senator JD Vance. So happy to have you here this morning, Senator Vance. I know you've been going hard on the campaign trail, but I want to start with the hurricane. During Hurricane Helene, as we heard, former President Trump suggested the federal government was not only sending FEMA aid meant for the hurricane to migrants, but going out of their way to not help people in Republican areas. Do you think that is true?
Well, Martha, what the president said is that fundamentally FEMA aid is distracted by going to illegal migrants. And by the way, good morning, and thanks for having me. We've got Republican congressmen who are on the ground who represent that area saying that they have to call the White House to get food and water to FEMA. I don't frankly think there's anything malicious going on here, Martha, but I do think that we've had an incompetent response to this particular crisis, particularly in Western North Carolina, which, to be fair, was hit harder than a lot of us expected it. But fundamentally, if you've got 6 days after the hurricane, the 82nd Airborne is still trickling in, I do think that we had a fundamentally incompetent, overly bureaucratic response to the hurricane. So what you hear from folks on the ground is they feel left behind. And Martha, we have to remember, of course, I know this area well. This is the Appalachian region of our country where people have felt ignored by their government for 30 years, and it doesn't help when you have a response to the hurricane that's slow, that's halting, and then you layer on top of it, of course,
Senator Vance
has done a lot.
Senator Vance, I want to go back to
resettlement work. Go ahead.
I want to go back to what former President Trump said. He said they're going out of their way to not help people in Republican areas. There is no truth to that. And on staging, Pentagon officials say that active duty troops were staged and ready to go before being called upon and were instantly out the door. So President Trump, former President Trump, is saying things.
You know, I was about to say, you see, JD Vance smile, smirk, like he's like, okay, here goes the BS. Here goes the BS. Look at his face, like, okay, I'm ready for the BS.
So President Trump, former President Trump, is saying things that aren't true about that money being withheld from Republican areas.
Well, Martha, I think you're actually confusing staging of resources from the rapid response of the U.S. military. I mean, look, in FEMA's defense, there are things after this hurricane that FEMA simply could not do. You actually need military command and control. You need military resources deployed to the area. And I think all the president has said is, frankly, what some of Kamala Harris's surrogates have said, which is that if these areas were a little bit more democratic, maybe Kamala Harris would have focused on them more. That acknowledgement is not to attack, frankly, the good folks of FEMA. It's to suggest that Americans are feeling left behind by their government, which they are, Martha.
Okay,
if you talk to folks on the ground, I've had friends that have been in Boone, North Carolina, helping with the cleanup. It is an extraordinary sense of betrayal and being left behind. People are worried that their government doesn't care about them. I'm much more worried about the incompetence of Kamala Harris's administration that led to that more than
Senator
I am
Vance,
the fact that Donald
Senator
Trump
Vance, I'm just going to say that local officials and FEMA officials say that is just flat wrong. But I want to, we play.
Man, I hate when they do that shit, man. I hate it. I hate it. They simply just do a fact check, but let me just move on. In that way, it appears like it's just appeared that you won the argument.
Some other comments about migrants, including in Aurora, in Colorado.
Look at that. They feel so entitled, huh?
Where Trump said the city had been invaded and conquered by Venezuelan gangs. The Republican mayor of the city said flatly the city and state have not been taken over or invaded or occupied by migrant gangs. So do you support Donald Trump making those claims that the Republican mayor says were grossly exaggerated and have hurt the city's identity and sense of safety? I understand what you're saying, that some people left behind, but he's making these statements that the mayor is flat out disputing.
Well, Martha, you just said the mayor said they were exaggerated.
Grossly exaggerated.
That means there's got to be some element of truth here. And of course, President Trump was actually in Aurora, Colorado, talking to people on the ground. And what we're hearing, of course, Martha, is that people are terrified by what has happened with some of these Venezuelan gangs.
Senator Vance, I'm going to stop you because I know exactly what happened.
Martha,
I'm going to stop you.
This is crazy, bro. You know what's crazy? JD Vance doesn't have to be here. They don't need to be here. But somehow the reporters, they feel that they are entitled to do this, huh?
The incidents were limited to a handful of apartment complexes, and the mayor said our dedicated police officers have acted on those concerns. A handful of problems.
Wow. A handful, huh? Only a handful, folks. So it did happen, but just a handful, so it doesn't matter.
Only, Martha, do you hear yourself? Only a handful of apartment complexes in America were taken over by Venezuelan gangs, and Donald Trump is the problem and not Kamala Harris's open border? Americans are so fed up with what's going on, and they have every right to be. And I really find this exchange, Martha, sort of interesting because you seem to be more focused with nitpicking everything that Donald Trump has said rather than acknowledging that apartment complexes in the United States of America are being taken over by violent gangs. I worry so much more about that problem than anything else here.
Crazy.
We've got to get American communities in a safe space again. And unfortunately, when you let people in by the millions, most of whom are unvetted, most of whom you don't know who they really are, you're going to have problems like this. Kamala Harris, 94 executive orders that undid Donald Trump's successful border policies. We knew this stuff would happen. They bragged about opening the border, and now we have the consequences, and we're living with it. We can do so much better, but frankly, we're not going to do better, Martha, unless Donald Trump calls this stuff out. I'm glad that he did.
Okay, let's just end that with they did not invade or take over the city, as Donald Trump said.
Exactly. Only a handful. Remember, just a handful. A handful.
I want to move on to
just a few
women.
Apartment complexes. No big deal.
A few apartment complexes that the mayor did not seem was invading the entire.
Even her, she's like having a little bit of circuits in her brain because she's clearly not in reality at the moment that she made that statement. Even her, I can guarantee you, she hurt herself afterward. She was like, "Oh, okay, I think I messed up in this one."
Our city. Let's move on to women and abortion. Donald Trump is leading Kamala Harris in our poll among males by 8 points, but lagging behind Harris by 9 points among females. You said during the debate that you and Trump have more to do to earn back people's trust, specifically as it relates to women and reproductive rights. 56% of those polled support restoring abortion access to what it was under Roe v. Wade. So what would you say specifically to the women watching this morning who believe they should have their own say over their bodies and not the government, either state or federal?
What?
Well, Martha, first of all, what I'd say is that I think renationalizing this entire debate is a big mistake. And I understand that a lot of
it's stupid. The reason they wanted to revive that topic is because it's a strong topic from the Democrats. But the fact that Trump said, you know what, we don't want this, just let it to the state, do whatever you got. If your state want to go full abortion until, after the... I disagree with that. Was also on you, but the fact that these people still want to revive that topic is stupid.
Americans, according to that poll, apparently disagree with me and President Trump here. But we want to respect Californians. We want to respect Alabamans. We want to respect Pennsylvanians. These folks are going to have different approaches to this particular topic. And I think that what we had in this country for 50 years was a culture war over this particular...
I don't want to hear the abortion topic, man. That was crazy, huh? That was crazy because I saw some clicking X and I couldn't believe it. But wow, let's see what people say in the comment section. The American journalism is dead. Mostly peaceful apartment takeover. Yep, that's what I said. I can now sleep well tonight that Martha reassured us that it was only a handful of apartment complexes. She makes it sound like it's a common thing. That's what I said. That's exactly what I said. They're going to get to a point when these people are committing a lot of crime, and they're still doing it. And it's not a big deal. It's only just a handful of crimes. Because the majority of crimes are committed by people that are legal. No, legal migrants or legal citizens commit more crime than illegal immigrants. Which is not true because coming to the United States illegally is already a crime. Stupid, right? Stupid logic. My property lineup is against Aurora, and we are miles away from what is happening at this apartment, so can't talk directly to that. However, I live in a country on a private cool cul-de-sac, and I have issues with an uprise in criminal activities. And our local PD recently posted that they arrested over a dozen Venezuelan gang members for auto theft, illegal drugs, and weapon charges. So is there? And here's probably in most states. So it's here and probably in most states. And I will always listen to local people over government or press. Yeah, 100%. Only a handful of apartment complexes. Yeah, I don't think she really. I think she was listening to what they were telling her in their Bluetooth or head on earplug, and she didn't realize what she said. I don't think so. A lot of these people are like a robot, right? When you hear Chris Cuomo talking, he sounds like a dumb person, right? Like it's not a dumb person. I'm gonna say like person that don't understand the present reality, because these people are just trained to just listen to what they're telling them through a earpiece and just recitate, but they're not really understanding the politics on the ground. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below, and I'll see you in the next one.